I find it incredibly stupid the way that so many Americans react to seeing a non-American talk about American politics with such defensiveness, and also as if like being an American gives you some level of authority on US politics as well, which is just comical. Everyone knows how stupid Americans are. I mean, like half of the voters in your country or more voted for Donald Trump. Half the people who did vote at least voted for Donald Trump. And you're telling us that like being American gives you some level of authority on anything? No. Your population is immeasurably stupid. And if anything, being American makes you less trustworthy, even on issues pertinent to America. So let's get that out of the way first. And I see this even from like supposedly left-leaning people, like, DSA types, who their number one response to me when I talk about how their organization is, if anything, a detriment to building something at all remotely effective and anti-imperialist in the US, their number one response is, geez, man, you're not even American. And that just kind of proves my whole point about them and theirs being counterproductive to anti-imperialism in the imperial core, because their reaction to seeing someone who's not from the US talking about the US and how its politics affect people who are not in the US far more severely than they do people within the country itself. Their reaction to that is just dismissiveness and immediate defensiveness, in the same way that like fucking Gila and Ethan Klein get angry when they see someone talking about Israel being an apartheid shithole. They're like, you've never been there. That's what Gila Klein says. You've never been there. Okay, you don't know anything about Israel. It's so diverse. It's the exact sort of idiotic reaction as like a Zionist Israeli has. Like, how dare you talk about us massacring Palestinians when you're not even an Israeli? As if being an Israeli isn't actually a negative in terms of that. Same exact thing here. Like, how dare you talk about us massacring and raping and genociding billions of people all around the world, exploiting them, ruining their lives to make our lives better? How dare you talk about that when you don't even live here? The opposite of that sort of logic is actually true. Someone who's not from the US is inevitably going to be far less like emotionally attached to the treats that Americans get from that sort of thing, and thus just by default is going to be more reliable when it comes to talking about American politics, and especially American politics as they pertain to imperialism. The country that invades, meddles, exploits, genocides practically every other country in the world, even to the extent that like its subservient allies, like the EU, France and stuff like that, are still heavily influenced by the US. You're from that country that has its tendrils absolutely everywhere, that has its hand in everything everywhere in the world, and you have the gall to tell people you're not even American. Why are you talking about American politics? You must be fucking with me. That argument already doesn't hold for the politics of any country in the world. Like, anyone who has actually like studied and looked into the politics of even like fucking Nepal, like an English speaker who doesn't even speak Nepalese or whatever the fuck language they speak there. I'm making it up as I go along, okay? Who has actually like done some level of research into that country's politics is probably going to be better versed in their politics than the average citizen of that country, just by virtue of the fact that average people don't know anything about politics, okay? So to just hold up your identity as an American, as like giving you like some sort of default level of authority on American politics and being like, but you're not even American, why are you talking about politics? Doesn't even make any sense in the first place. Even ignoring the fact that American politics clearly are of special, very special interest to the vast majority of people in the world, because American politics dictate so much about them. What the American government decides for them affects their lives in ways that affect them significantly more than it affects most Americans. So it's already a stupid argument, even ignoring that. But it's an even stupider argument when you think about it in those terms, in the terms of, well, what do the actions of the American government affect? Is it only Americans? No, it's not. Obviously not. Americans are just really accustomed to these sorts of arguments from identity. Americans have been like, this generation of Americans especially has been raised on nothing but identity narcissism, where the style of argumentation that they are most exposed to is just someone saying, well, I'm identity category X, ergo I'm correct and you're wrong. How dare you even question me? I'm of X identity category. So they've been conditioned into this sort of argumentation, and that now they're trying it in even situations like this where it is just so nonsensical, so stupid, so offensively stupid, in fact. And they just don't know how to do anything else. That's all they really know how to do. They are really spiritually Zionists. Like, the only thing stopping the average American from being a Zionist is that they weren't born Jewish. They have the same sort of identity narcissism that like the average Zionist Jew has. They're just not in the right situation where it can be quite as obvious for them as it currently is for the Zionists. So the moral of this little video here is, oh, you're not even American. What do you know about American politics? More than you. By default, way more than you. The fact that you're American actually makes you less credible on the matter, especially when we're talking about your country's imperialism that benefits you. Thanks.